Welcome to the first of our two sessions now on cultivating community. I want you to imagine that we lived in a world where you had to use the landline or Royal Mail all the time still for your communication, or your toilet was in your back garden, so in the middle of the night you'd be foundered. Or maybe the furthest place you went on holiday, even without COVID, was Portrush. Your TV channel was black and white and it only had 4 channels and no remote control. And worst of all, bright colourful shell shoots, they were still in fashion. Most of us remember a time when at least some of these things were the norm. And on the whole, we're incredibly thankful that things have changed. At some point, somebody stood up and said, "Hold on, I think we can develop mobile technology that fits in your pocket." Or, "Let's develop a sewerage infrastructure that means we can have an inside toilet." Or, "Shell suits? Seriously?" At the time, you probably didn't think anything needed to change. You were perfectly happy with Portrush because, well, that's the way it had always been. That's the way it's always been have been described as the 6 most expensive words in business, as resistance to change fails to make way for the possibility of something better. Change is a challenge in every environment, and the church is no exception. We have seen from the Journeying with People session that the starting point for unreached people is often increasingly further away from the church. Perhaps, therefore, we need to move our starting point for mission as a church into the community around us in a way that is relevant and enriching. In the passage we're going to look at, Jesus succinctly outlines our visible mission strategy: love for one another. So let's read together John 13, verses 34 and 35. Jesus said, "By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." By what will they know? Will it be our impressive buildings, our brilliant music, our deeply theological sermons, by our ministries or programs? Jesus doesn't say any of these things. He says, by your love. How we treat each other will affect people's view of the church and of Jesus. Our love for one another is a window advertisement to the world for the gospel. So let's stop now and have a conversation about this.
I wonder what our church priorities would look like if we truly grasped the biblical idea that the unreached people around us could know something of Jesus through seeing and experiencing our love for each other within the church. How might we cultivate environments where we extend the community of the church into the lives of our unreached friends so that they experience something of the community of the church? This session will help us understand the rationale for this, whilst also reflecting what this could look like in the life of our congregation. We're thinking about pathways into the church, and traditionally our approach to cultivating community happens centrally using the church buildings and a range of programs and activities to try to meet a variety of needs in the community. Tots groups, lunch clubs and youth clubs are not unusual in congregational life and play an important role of connecting with the community. Often the missional strategy for these activities is that people would naturally start coming along to church services as a result, a bit like a funnel into the church life. However, what we're finding is that this is not the case. What if these activities look and feel less like funnels into church and more like silos around the edge of the church? Might we need to think differently? Perhaps we need to appreciate that people do not naturally move from around to inside the church without the help of Christians who build relationships with their words and actions and invitations and welcome. Reflecting on the pathways into church for unreached people can be helpful. It's hoped this will enable us as a church to understand the importance of connection between building relationship, cultivating community, and inviting encounter. Within this, we might have an increased awareness of new opportunities for cultivating community in our area. The share model that you'll see in your screen is about building relationships and shows that that's important. We have realised from the previous section that people are culturally much further away from the church. A relationship with a Christian can be a hugely significant part of someone's journey of faith. However, relationship alone is not enough, and as we have discovered, it's incredibly helpful for our unreached friends to be invited into the church community, to meet other Christians and to be in their company.
So in light of all this, we see that cultivating community is really important. We need to extend the community of the church by cultivating spaces in the around church segment where people have time to comfortably grow into the community of the church through their experience of it. In these spaces, we're not necessarily presenting the gospel message, but we're walking alongside people in their journey towards the church community. We are gently extending appropriate invitations that might move people closer to an encounter with Jesus. So I want to think now about 7 outcomes of extending the church community. It'll allow others, first of all, to live among us as the people of God. They might say, I've never really spent time with Christian people. But all of a sudden, they can see what we're really like. The second thing is that it might lower their perception of God as a killjoy. They might say, now I see it's not the way I thought it was at all. The third thing is that people might linger around in the presence of God. They might say, there's something about all this that speaks to me, that touches me deep within that I wasn't expecting. Fourth, it helps people to look at the practice of God's ways. They might say, these people, they do live differently. Fifth, it helps people to learn to appreciate the beauty of God's impact. They might say, there's some amazing and incredible stories of change here that I just can't explain. Sixth, people might long to apply God's wisdom. They might say, I can see that God really does have something to say about my life, things related to me. Seventh, it helps people to lean into the possibility of change in their life. They might say, maybe I'll be open to exploring this further. By extending our church community to those outside church, we create a comfortable space to deconstruct some negative perceptions of church that they might have held for a long time. And perhaps this could become a crucial part of the jigsaw of our mission locally. Relationship and community are hugely important building blocks that help to create an openness and curiosity about the Christian faith. But at some point, people just need to hear the good news about Jesus. Therefore, inviting encounter with Jesus is crucial, and the final section of Share will equip us for sharing our story of faith and God's story of the gospel naturally with others, while also building a culture of invitation in our church that will draw people towards making a decision to follow Jesus. So let's just pause here and have a conversation about this. So hopefully this provides a picture of the opportunities for relationship, community and encounter that exists both outside and around our church. Perhaps this highlights areas of strength and areas of opportunity that can be discussed in further sessions. In extending the community of the church, we allow others to experience it as we love one another and live out our faith. What might others learn from this? What might they see as they observe us in community? Often we socialise with our Christian friends and our unreached friends, but never together. What might it look like to bring our worlds together so that our Christian friends become friends with our unreached friends? And then, how can we be intentional in cultivating these opportunities around church so that they just become a normal habit for us? It's in real, authentic community around the church that we find a much greater openness to and interest in the Jesus story. Wouldn't it be great if gradually the groups we spend most time with have both Christians and non-Christians in them, and the Jesus story, over time, becomes more believable to them? What if, in a room full of trusted friends, we're not the only weirdo? Bringing our worlds together takes time and requires a change in lifestyle. The easier plan for mission is just to add an activity to your life, helping with youth club, something like that. But we need to learn to live a missional lifestyle, not a life where mission is confined to a slot.
In the knowledge that we are already on mission as individuals, it's helpful to reflect on the regular places we find ourselves amongst unreached people. When we understand where God has placed us, we begin to think more intentionally about how to live out our faith with words and with actions. This can start at the kitchen table as we invite people to our family meals, as we honestly share our joys and struggles of marriage, of work and so on, as we promote generosity and kindness in the workplace or make an effort to welcome a neighbour. As we do these things, we make Jesus more obvious to those around us. So, where has God put us? Where has He put you? What are your circles of influence? Here's a task now. You'll see some of it on screen to give you an idea, but you'll get a piece of paper on your circles to draw circles to identify the different groups of people that you're connected to. And alongside our circles of influence, how we spend our time often reveals our priorities. Where and with whom are you spending your time? So the second part of the task is to complete the time handout or piece on a piece of paper to look at how you spend your time over the course of a week. So do those tasks and then have a chat about it. Intentionally investing in relationships with unreached people is a hugely important starting point in mission, but often it's not enough to draw people towards an encounter with Jesus, because people need more than one Christian in their life. They need to experience Christian community. This brings us to the next section, which outlines some practical ideas to start the ball rolling in our community.
So we highlighted some practical neighbourliness ideas, but now we're going to move on to some further ideas to help you to connect with your community. Some of these could be appropriate for bringing our Christian friends together with our unreached friends. The first area of opportunity is moving to a new home, or whenever other people's move to new homes. Keep a stock of new home cards, and whenever someone moves, bake a cake or put together a hamper and take it round with a card within the first week. Welcome them, introduce yourself, and invite them to knock your door if they ever need anything. Make an effort then to invite them to your house for coffee within the first few months. Second, fitness for the soul. If you're a member of a local leisure centre or sports club, ask if you can act as a chaplain. Explain your concerns about fitness for the soul as well as the body and the positive impact for mental health. Ask for a poster with your picture and your details displayed for anyone to make contact. Leave cards with times when you're at the gym and available. Leave a box for prayer requests. Third, have a film night. Invite friends and neighbours to your house to watch a film and informally start a conversation about any faith issues that it might raise over refreshments. Films tell stories and touch on the big questions of life, so go for a popular film rather than one with obvious relevance to faith. 4. Eating together. Think of every opportunity to invite people to eat. Summer barbecues, murder mystery dinners, Christmas dinners, mince pies, pizza parties. Establishing patterns and group of friends like this makes it easier to suggest an appropriate church event for your next gathering. 5. What about pampering events? Beauty therapists and hairdressers find people pouring out their hearts to them whenever they relax. So gather a mix of friends and give each other a facial and a manicure. Pray that God would guide the conversation and provide you with opportunities to share your faith. 6. Reading groups. Join or set up a reading group or a book club. Gather a mix of friends and neighbours and choose a book to read over an agreed period. Then get together in a home or a coffee shop or any relaxed environment and discuss it. How you feel about the characters, the life issues that come up, and matters to which you can all relate. 7. Creative craft. In recent time, there's been an increased interest in traditional craft. If you're excited by things like knitting, embroidery, quilting, or card making, why not gather others and meet regularly? Chatting while working on your craft, it's a great way of sharing faith and building relationships. 8. Have a street party. Why not organise a barbecue for your street? If possible, hold it in the open or with different hosts for each course. Chat through the idea with the people you know best and knock on doors to invite people personally. If people ask what they can bring, ask them to help with something or to bring a neighbour. Get them involved in feeling that it's their event as much as it is yours. 9. Sports. Join a local sports team with the aim of building friendship with those in your community and a place to live out your faith amongst those who are unreached. 10. Go door to door. Now, the words door to door might fill you with dread, but what we really mean is for you to look for every opportunity to call at someone's door. Having something in your hand that gives you a purpose to ring the bell is helpful. Maybe an invitation to a church or community event, maybe some cookies that you've baked, or just a community needs questionnaire to try and get to know the people in your area. Why don't we just stop now and have a chat about some of these practical ideas? So that's the end of this session. But for next time, why don't you choose one of these activities to go and to do this week? So first of all, why not organise a social night for your small group where everyone is encouraged to invite at least one unreached friend? If you make this a fundraiser for a charity, then maybe it makes it an easier invite for people. Or what about, think about someone you know who is currently outside church. Invite them to something this week that will help them experience the church community. Or of course, as always, choose something else that you can think of. The important thing is to try and do something.